Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Belizian nominated for CARICOM Secretary General's position. This story takes the lead in our 1083rd edition of Caribbean Perspective for Monday, 5th April 2021. Details after this break.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Dr. Carla Barnett, former Caribbean Community CARICOM Deputy Secretary General, has been nominated for the region's top civil servant job. Barnett is hoping to succeed Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, who has served 2 consecutive 5-year terms as Secretary General of the regional grouping. In addition to her previous stint at the CARICOM Secretariat, Barnett worked across the region as an economist, later as Vice President Operations at the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, and as a consultant to development agencies working in the Caribbean. In Belize, she has been Deputy Governor of the Central Bank and was the Financial Secretary during the country's first successful debt restructuring in 2007. Under the previous administration, Barnett was Vice President of the Senate and a Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance. Commenting on her vision for CARICOM, Barnett said that she sees a CARICOM that the ordinary woman and man will defend because they feel the impact of their daily lives through economic and social advancement that comes from community action. She said CARICOM should never be afraid to re-strategize, as it is now doing when the needs are great and the resources are scarce. CARICOM's Council of Ministers will meet virtually later this month to consider nominations for the Secretary General post and determine its recommendations to the Conference of Heads of Government. A special meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government is to be scheduled for the end of April or early May to decide on the appointment. In other news, the United States of America has spoken by way of its 2020 report on human rights practices in Guyana. Wendell Badri of HGP Nightly News has some details.
In the executive summary of the report, which was released by the Department of State, it highlighted that, and I quote, members of the security forces committed few abuses, while it also stated that significant human rights issues included unlawful or arbitrary killings, including extrajudicial killings and harsh prison conditions. The United States said that in 2020 there were reports of democide, using as its example the killing of Cecile Sampat in July 2020. Sampat, along with 4 friends, were intercepted and shot at by police officers on Durban Street, which turned out to be a case of alleged mistaken identity. In a police statement following the incident, authorities said police traced the car and its occupants to Durban Street following a fight which erupted at a crowded bar in Agricola, where one of the persons involved in the fight had a gun. While the officers tracing the car encountered mechanical problems along the way, it is reported that officers in Georgetown were alerted who intercepted the car and opened fire at its occupants in Durban Street. No weapons were retrieved from the car, nor its occupants. Police Constable Troy Monroe was subsequently charged for manslaughter in relation to Sampat's death on December 15th. Meanwhile, the United States shone the spotlight on the arbitrary arrest of Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones at his home in August of that year. And I quote, "In August, police arrested Christopher Jones, a senior member of the opposition, and searched his home, although Jones had a court-issued injunction preventing the search," end quote, the report stated. Jones was arrested at his home in August 2020 following an alleged accusation of corruption in the acquisition of a quantity of barbershop chairs and equipment under the Sustainable Livelihoods and Entrepreneurial Development Program, SLED. The U.S. report also noted that, and I quote, in October, the Ghana Prison Service reported that there were 1,761 prisoners in 7 facilities with a combined designed capacity for 1,505. Overcrowding was in large part due to a backlog of pre-trial detainees, who constituted approximately 30% of the total prison population. End quote. Meanwhile, Opposition Member of Parliament Geeta Chandan Edmund, who shadows Home Affairs business in the National Assembly, said she took note of the report and concluded that Ghana is returning to the dark days when lawlessness abounded, while expressing happiness that the United States continue to monitor, and I quote, the abuses of the incumbent administration, end quote.
Further, we are happy that the United States continue to monitor the abuses of this regime.
Wendell Badry, HGP Nightly News.
Meantime, it is unlikely that the opposition in Guyana will go to court to resolve the ongoing stalemate at the Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. That's according to leader of the opposition, Joseph Harman. More in this report from Wendell Badry again of HGP Nightly News.
Harman speculated that the stalemate may not result in court proceedings, while stating that his party is looking at measures within the confines of the National Assembly to bring about a resolution to the conflict.
I don't think we get to that point about going to court, the challenge. The measures we are looking at are measures which are within the purview of the National Assembly.
He was at the time being questioned by media operatives about the ongoing debacle in the Public Accounts Committee, which is currently at a standstill as a result of a motion which was brought against the chairman, David Pattison, by the Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs, Gail Teixeira, seeking his removal from that position. The government side of the committee is adamant that it has no confidence in Pattison as chairman of the committee, following his alleged involvement in several corrupt practices while serving as a Minister of Government between 2015 and 2020. Pattison has maintained his innocence. Last Wednesday, Attorney-at-Law Kevon Best tendered a document to the Clerk of the National Assembly, Sherlock Isaacs, seeking a resolution to the stalemate. The attorney, via the documented advice, reasoned that, should the opposition members refuse to take up the chairmanship position of the committee, the government members could elect one of its own temporarily until a permanent chairman is elected from among the members of the main opposition. He premised this reasoning on Standing Order 95-4 of the National Assembly, which says, and I quote, if the chairperson is unable to be present at any meeting, the committee shall elect another chairperson whose tenure of office shall be for the day of his or her election. End quote. The opposition members of the committee have thus far refused to take up the chairmanship position, citing that it has confidence in Pattison, and further that the chairman of the PAC is ultimately decided upon by the opposition, a position that has been vindicated by Bess, as he also posited that the chairman of the PAC must at all times be selected from among the main opposition, as stated in Standing Order 82-2 of the National Assembly. The Public Accounts Committee is responsible for the scrutiny of government spending, and Pattison has lamented that the continued debacle is causing the committee to lag. Prior to the stalemate, the committee was involved in the scrutiny of public funds for the year 2016. The PSC also holds the responsibility for electing members to the Procurement Board, which has not yet been done. Harman has vowed to take necessary steps to bring an end to the stalemate.
Well, I can assure you that as the coalition, that we are looking at this matter very seriously, and we will take certain steps that are necessary in that regard.
Wendell Badry, HGP Nightly News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Over in St. Lucia, Senator Fortuna Belrose has defended a decision to enlist the services of her husband as a driver during her term in office. Meanwhile, the government senator, amid criticism of the current administration's level of service in the key battleground constituency, pointed the finger at the current parliamentary representative, opposition leader Philip J. Pear. Colby DeVoe of HTS News Force reports.
Senator Fortuna Belrose is brushing off criticism of the hire of her husband as the government minister's personal driver during her tenure in office. The minister responsible for culture fielded a number of questions as a recent guest on UWP Media. She says this decision has always received the backing of the Prime Minister.
Your husband has been seen driving you around on government business.
Yes.
Is he employed by the government?
Yes.
To render his service?
Yes, he is employed by the government. I did not believe that I could have been an effective minister without having my husband with me on this journey. And so I spoke to my Prime Minister. I spoke about my trepidations and everything else with respect to that job. And he did say to me, okay, I will facilitate. And that's what a good Prime Minister does. He listens, he understands the dynamics of the situation, and he provides the support to make it happen. So my driver is a young man who was given, I say young man, he's given all his life of service to St. Lucia as well. He was a national athlete for a number of years, and one of the best athletes St. Lucia had in 1980.
I don't really want to know about him. I would prefer to know more about you.
Senator Belrose is the United Workers' Party candidate for Castries East. She was peppered with a number of questions by callers on a host of issues from healthcare, pandemic protocols, to the economic plight of citizens due to the COVID-19 crisis. Some critics and contributors complained that the constituency has been underserved during the tenure of the current regime. The government minister seemed to cite the consequences of the outcome of a general election.
You talked about the Prime Minister and myself walked in the boulevard. I mentioned earlier that when you elect a government, you elect them on the basis of the policies and programs that they set out. The people of Castries East categorically chose to reject the United Workers' Party.
Just hold the line, caller.
Yes, I'm saying the people of Castries East chose categorically to reject the United Workers' Party at the last election. Yeah? 11 other constituencies said to the United Workers' Party, yes, we want to build a new St. Lucia with you, we are on the road with you, and we'll be working with you. And so the government sought to invest in those communities where they bought into the philosophy and thinking, you understand, of the government. It's very important that the community buys into the vision. When the Prime Minister came in, we just did a tour of the constituency. We made no promises. No promises at all were made, because I'm a community worker and I understand when you raise people's expectations, the challenge it can pose for you.
Moreover, Senator Belrose asserts that the onus should be placed on the incumbent parliamentary representative opposition leader, Philip J. Pierre.
Let me tell you something. Mr. Pierre has a responsibility to write to the government on any matter that he wants. He can't just go and speak and spoke and spoke. No. If you're representing the people, there is an issue in your constituency, you need to sit down, put pen to paper to the right person and send it in to them. That's what representation is all about. And then you can show the people, look, I wrote to them. I wrote and I didn't get any support for the projects in the boulevard. I've written. You know, that's what you need to do. I've written and I've not seen anything. So he's the parliamentary rep and I never took that away from him. He is the rep for Castries East, not Fortuna Belrose. What Fortuna Belrose does is to respond to the needs of the community when they come to me. That's what I do. And I do it very well. And so perhaps that's why there's a little chicken now. But the fact is, if you come to me, you get total quality service.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world? And you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.